personal alchemy today. I was going to give you guys on the recording a video meditation recording, but apparently it's not going to work. So we'll try something else in the studio with better sound. But in the plane of the earth, you know, just in terms of a check-in or doing your embodied exercise, it's, you know, we did the arm swings and the leg swing and the alternate nostril, and then a short meditation. And to me, there's no better way to drop in. And now that we've dropped in, feeling present, and if you are doing the video on demand, please set an intention for why you're here and what you want out of this. Because what we want out of this first recording is a hair mineral analysis of Anna. And so we're going to go screen share here. Now, we do have the hair mineral analysis and the assessment module available. So let's pull that up. And if you're looking at the video recording, this is the master sheet you get access to through the dashboard, which I won't digress. I have something to ask you guys, but let's go to hair mineral analysis course. So we have that up in one window. And then we're going to pull up Anna in the other window. I think I just put it in your folder, right, Anna? I think that's what I did.
Yes.
And if you're new to this and you're watching the recording, this is our folder system. So everybody has a folder that basically says, here's what you got going on. Here's how you fix it. Here's how we track and follow up. Here's do-it-yourself resources, and here's your reference materials. So we label hair mineral analysis HTMA in my world. That means hair tissue mineral analysis. Anna, do we have any previous ones, or is this your first one?
This is first.
Here's Anna's first one. So I'd recommend doing one in 3 to 6 months after this so you can see the trajectory of everything. And we're going to start at the bottom with the ratios, because the ratios are what I was taught is the most important part. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so the three most important ratios are if you look here on the left, CAMG, CAK, and NAK. The other three ratios, NAMG, ZNCU, and CAP, are not as accurate in today's modern world. We can go into that later, but so CAMG, the ratio of calcium to magnesium, tells us your insulin resistance ratio. So it's a good way to get your, if you have insulin resistance, this is a good test for it. And Anna is in a very, very good carbohydrate control on whatever level. So let's look at this test. Says it was done on 8-8. Okay, that means when you have an inch of hair to review, then, oh, let's pop quiz this. When you have an inch of hair and this was done on 8-8, then class, how many months of hair, what is the sample size of time for a month, you know, for an inch of hair? How long does it take an inch of hair to grow?
I don't know.
I don't know if we know.
About 3 months.
About
3
3
months,
months.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's highly variable based on who you are as a human.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think it's a 1/4 inch to 1/3 of an inch a month. So an inch, you know, is close to a 3-month sample size. So when you say you've got a test done in August, then what is the actual sample period? What is the time period this test is measuring? Because it's just a test measuring a parameter in time. So what's the time period then?
May
Based on what I just
through
told you?
August, depending on when, you know, so the
It's
first
just a moment in time, right?
No, this is not a moment in time because this is hair growing over a time period.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, right.
So what time period, but based on what I just gave you guys a clue.
Okay, yeah, 3
May,
months.
June, July.
May, June, July.
Yeah.
That's right. So this data is only accurate for the months of May, June, July. That's it. Let's start there. This is May, June, July only. Okay. And that's what these numbers are telling us during this time period. This is what Anna's hair is showing us.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We have to establish for credibility's sake in modern science. That's what we're looking at. Okay, so during this time period, then insulin resistance looks good. These absolute numbers of calcium and magnesium are fantastic.
Mm.
See, there's a little zone here. You can't quite see it, but you see that little wavy line in the middle?
Yeah.
So
blue,
calcium,
gray.
magnesium, you're in the perfect zone. And that's not very common in today's world. So pat yourself on the back, Anna. Now we know that, we do know that, this is a private recording. And so I'm going to say a vulnerable thing. And we know, Anna, I have the same trouble every now and then, and that's sort of going off the wagon. And for whatever reason, whether it's wine or carbohydrates or indulgences or chocolate excess, or, we all have our thing. And yet, whatever you did during these 3 months, were you fasting during these 3 months? Part of it? May, June, July?
No. Wait, I did a 4-day a few months ago. 3 or 4 day. It might have been
So kind of
around
a
that
normal
time.
diet then?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good job, because that's not common. 5 to 10 is considered a good range for this. And
When did you do your dark meditation?
Early July 9th.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and you did a fast on May 7th.
Ah,
2 days on raw foods, veggies, and water only. Today, water only.
yeah.
So I don't know how long you did that, but you started it on around May 7th.
It's about 3 or 4 days.
So look at the screen, you guys, to see, this is a mineral blueprint. Your metabolic rate, energy levels, and stages of stress, okay? It's a standard test. If you look at the third paragraph, it's fairly standardized at this point. And this is what it tells us, see. Metabolic rate, state of stress, immune function, adrenal, thyroid. I don't agree. The hormone stuff, we don't get a lot of that. More cell membrane hormone stuff. Cardiovascular risk, yes. Digestive health to a degree. Carbohydrate, sugar handling, yes. Protein intake and usage, yes. But see, how a patient is managing lifestyle stress. Overall health trends, how they're managing lifestyle stress.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this is a good slide here. Why do I need a hair test? And look at all the things you can get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's quite a bit there. So it's like reduce guesswork in what foods to eat. Slow down the aging process. That's good. So you're viewing the interplay occurring between minerals. That's why we need another test in about 6 months. Okay, we'll come back to this and we'll go back to the test now. So your carbohydrate loading insulin ratio, your insulin is letting other things in the door. That's great. Now here's an interesting one, CAK. Anybody want to take a shot at what they think that is? CAK.
Calcium, potassium.
And what ratio is that of? Take a shot.
The cell membrane, right? Is that the cell membrane?
Yes, and what hormone is CAK measuring the cell membrane resistance for? Anybody want to try? Thyroid hormone.
Oh, I thought the kid.
So this measures thyroid hormone resistance. Trying to find this one page that really there's like a one in terms of assessment. Oh, this one's good. All right. So you see, this tells you the overall what. So calcium to potassium, sorry, that's a little big. There we go. See, she's in a good ratio there. And then calcium to potassium, we want that around 4. Okay, where's Anna at? Ooh, so you have a hyper effect at the cellular level. This might need a little explaining. All right. You have a hyper effect. So whatever thyroid hormone you're going to be measuring with the blood will have an increased effect at the cellular level. So you have the opposite, you have the opposite of cell hormone resistance. You have cell hormone, like it's hyper. I have the same phenomenon going on actually.
So what does it mean in layman terms?
It means you're going to run a hyperthyroid effect. So let's go to the hyperthyroid. Let's see if that runs true. We'll go to the system survey form and look at group. What's hyperthyroid on system survey? Anybody remember hyperthyroid on the system survey?
Ooh.
Gotcha.
2, 3, 4.
Okay, we're going to pull one up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you have a system survey in here anyway.
7.
You're getting there.
8 is overall lifestyle. 7. 6, is it 6?
Nope. You had which one of the 7s?
Oh, this.
Which
7.
one of the 7s?
Oh, there's A through D, right? Is there A through D?
A
How
through
many
F.
other?
A through F. I'm getting there.
I want to say D, but I'm not too sure.
All right, well, we're going to pull up the system survey explanation here. And last chance before I get there. Anybody else want to try? Okay, it's 7A, hyperthyroid. And that's not, see what the symptoms are there. That's really hard to read. Go even bigger. There we go. Okay, so if you can't read that, you guys, insomnia, nervousness, can't gain weight, intolerance to heat, highly emotional, flush easily, which would be like a hot flash, night sweats, thin, moist skin that tears easy, I would add, getting cut easily, inward trembling, heart palpitations, nosebleeds easy, increased appetite without weight gain, fast pulse, eyelids and face and other twitching things, irritable and restless, can't work under pressure. So how true are those things, Anna?
Most, with the exception of can't gain weight. You know, I've had the experience in my 30s, I gained a little and then I lost. I gained a little in my 40s, I lost, and now I'm stuck and having a hard time losing weight. I'm about 20 pounds over my, you know, a good weight, and I'm
like to be
where I'd like to be. Yeah.
Because keep it just at that for now.
Yeah.
And that's the low thyroid. So everybody has symptoms of each, and that's where we'd want to look at maybe. Let's do it real quickly here.
That 7B looked very close and very resonant.
Right, and when you have a lot of symptoms in hyper and hypothyroid, then you have to go back to liver and nutrition. So are you getting enough selenium and iodine is the question, because those are the main nutrients for the thyroid, plus all those B vitamins. And then
I felt recently definitely liver. I had just a feeling like liver issues for sure.
Yeah, and then the liver rules the smooth spreading of chi. And some of the smooth spreading of chi stuff you get are those sticky cravings, right? The chi gets stuck. You get into I get into an obsessive compulsive pattern, and it won't go away until I find some way to break out of it, whether it's yoga or actually doing the indulgence. And the origin of that is liver energy, I believe.
Mm.
Right, can I ask a question?
Yes.
On one of the slides that you pulled up, it said CAK ratio defines oxidation rate.
Yes.
Now, what does the oxidation rate have to do with the thyroid resistance?
What does it have to do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, oxidation rate. Let's go back to this.
No, it wasn't one of, it wasn't a text slide.
Oh, I know. So there's a lot of disagreement about, see, she's called a fast oxidizer, right? See right there?
Uh-huh.
That's partially based on that CAK thing. But Michael McAvoy doesn't agree with the way they assess oxidation rate. And so you'll hear different people calling what their opinion of what oxidation rate is. What does Morley Robbins of the root cause protocols say about oxidation rate?
I don't know.
So Morley has a whole thing. I have to do a screenshot for this one, looks like. Let's go back. I'm gonna have to do a whiteboard for this one. So Isabel, I'm gonna have to explain this on a whiteboard, which seems to work out for us. Text, dark, no, black. Okay, so CAK, and we're calling that they'll put it in quotes, a thyroid hormone resistance ratio. So that's Paul Eck work, trial and error over about 30 years. And that's how they determined by empiricism. They discovered this ratio by empiricism. By empiricism. So the question is, does this equal oxidation or mitochondrial production of energy? That's the question, right, Isabel? Isabel?
Oops. I'm sorry, I put myself on mute. So you mentioned the thyroid hormone resistance, and then on that one slide that you showed us, it said, I think in the hair mineral analysis synopsis or something, it says Ca/K equals defines oxidation rate, and I cannot put the two together.
Okay, right. So what you want to think about is, let's really bring this back to more of a general. So you know how an engine in a car works, right? It's got a spark that triggers a reaction and then energy is produced. And so you think you have an engine in your cells, right? And it needs fuel. And what you want to do is, let's do this in red. No. I want that black. There we go. Now we go to red. So what you want to be able to make energy without exhaust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when they say oxidation, well, that's your engine running, right? And then so if you have, let's say, a high ratio or thyroid hormone resistance, then that's a question mark. Does that equal, because we're doing inquiry here, does that equal, oh boy, spelling. Metabolism, or what is this? So if they have a high ratio, then that means production of waste. in excess. So is that a very clean running fuel then?
No.
If you have a lot of waste, remember the metaphor I told you guys? Let's save this screenshot here. Save. Save. We're going to clear it now.
I guess my question is,
Oh, what happened?
what does the thyroid hormone resistance have to do with excess waste?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to here. So
okay.
when you have, say, I have to find another way to say this. So let's draw a cell.
The ozone doctor said he thought the belly that I have is like a insulin like resistance or sensitivity of some sort.
Right. That's precisely, but you don't present that on the hair and mineral analysis either. So this is like, you call this your cell membrane here, your cell. There's an inner and an outer membrane. And then you've got, say, let's get a drawing here, text. And you say, okay, we've got 5 units of energy. That's not the right metaphor. You've got a hormone or a nutrient trying to get in the cell. Does that make sense? There's something trying to get in the cell, right? It's trying to get in there.
Mhm.
Oh, that's supposed to change to red. Hey, you guys suck. And then, so if it comes in, we'll say that its potential charge, its potential energy is, let's say it's 5, the way it is. And this is very rough conceptually. Then if you have cell resistance, then inside the cell equals, you only get 3 units. And the other 2 turns to waste, turns to exhaust. Which you would see that as reverse T3 in the labs. That's the form of T3 that can't be used by the body. So if you have cell resistance, you'll see that. If you have what Anna is looking at here, though, if you have a hyper open, no, a high ratio CAK equals a hyper effect at the cell level, what do you think is going to happen then? Equals, you're going to get 7 units of energy inside the cell. And the extra 2, where? I believe we call those, that's a dysaerobic metabolism. That's fire. So one's fire and one's cold.
I got lots of fire.
There you go.
Don't fuck with me.
And there's the fire. So does that help, Isabel? That right there?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll leave that. We'll save that whiteboard. So you just have more. So there's a potential of 5, and if it's hypo, you only get 3. If it's hyper, you get 7. So that illustrates it there that in the mitochondria, you might be burning too hot or too cold, basically.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that since very young age, I was always cold. I would get cold very easily, and I still layer up, and people are like wearing tank tops and shorts, and I'm like in a freaking sweater, and but then now I'm getting like the warm, getting warm at night, and hot, running a little hotter, but I still layer up for the cold times for sure.
Okay, watch this then. We'll erase this, and there's one more thing to show.
Hold
here.
on. I wanted to ask you, where are the 2 extra units coming from? She must be depleting that from somewhere else, right?
There's a confounded contradictions in science and life right there. I know, confounded contradictions. So they're sort of already there, Isabel, and let's pause that question for a minute, okay?
Okay.
Let's pause that for just a minute. It's a very valid question, and I'd probably ask it myself. But I want to go back to the point here that I didn't make earlier, and that's let's see, a drawing. We'll draw a horrendously bad human again. Okay, let's make this human a little more flattering. There, nice and thin. And we could have arms and legs like sticks, I guess. There you go. Yippee! Jump for joy. And then we'll draw a nice head there. Okay, the head's on a little crooked, so we better fix that. There we go. All right, so when you have a lot of heat, as we can see here, then you can perceive the heat as being in the core right here around the thorax. So that's all your heat right in there. And when we're in sympathetic dominance, we get heat stagnation. It stays stuck in the middle. And there's the cold hands and feet. There's also there's a micro circulation element too, of course.
What's interesting is diabetes runs in my family. I think my great-grandmother had it, my grandmother had it, my mom has it.
So what then you see then is, let's draw a little arrow here, is this blood trying to go out like this to the periphery gets blocked.
I've had circulation issues, I feel like, all my life, and I have very low blood pressure.
Right, so what happens is this gets blocked, that gets blocked, that gets blocked, and that gets blocked. And the low blood pressure, there's so many reasons for that. We could go into that, but for our purposes today, I wanted to point out that, and then that's why you could have a lot of heat, but still cold hands and feet, right?
Yeah, the heat has come more with age within the past few years, 5 years, since the menopausal onset. Now I'm like sticking my hands. Oh, I had the hot feet, I think, some when I was younger too, and I would stick my feet under the faucet for cold water.
Well, hot feet is in the system survey also under group. It's under the liver symptoms, I think. Let's go back to the hair mineral. We're kind of digressing a little bit. So Isabel, I'm presenting you a conceptual model, and that's the failure of my conceptual model. Is to answer your question, I have to go into another conceptual model. And so we'll have to backtrack on that for a few minutes on your question, because
That's okay.
It's like you're getting something for nothing in a sense. It's like you think you got 5 units of energy, but because there's this incessant yin deficient heat running, it's like the cup is supposed to contain the energy, but the energy comes from the leaky other cells in the leaky system. This heat leaks out, and it can affect this metabolism on the cellular level, but we don't have the whole picture. That's why I don't want to draw a conclusion of where that's coming from. We've only looked at a couple of things.
Okay.
So let's go look at a few other things here. So we know her insulin resistance ratio is great. There's energy involved with that reaction. And then NAK, that's supposed to be about 2.5. Uh-oh. NAK 2.5. Oh boy. I thought we had another. There it is.
Sodium, potassium.
So if it's greater than 1, there's inflammation. Uh-oh. greater than 4, 4.30.
Big time inflammation, yeah.
So
Where was that?
you're right there, NAK, sodium potassium near the top. See, there's another oxidation rate. See right there, Isabel?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
NAMG
Yes.
and CAK. But notice they don't have it under NAK. I consider NAK a way more accurate measure than NAMG, way more accurate. So I use NAK primarily, NAMG I look as a backup plan, but 4 is pretty high. So in that time period, there was an excessive adrenal activity at the cellular level.
Mm.
And there could be adrenal hormone resistance because you have a high ratio. So then we have a little picture presenting now, don't we? We have thyroid hormone running too hot, adrenal hormone running too cold, and insulin running normal. Well, there's a confounding contradiction there. Welcome to life. So we have some contradictions, and this is why Isabel, what the body has done, in my opinion, in Anna's case, is when we're fasting and we've gone through fasting, a lot of stuff gets released that would not normally have been released. And in the body's intelligence, it's going to release that. And some of those things coming out have to be transformed, transmuted. And then somehow, if there's waste elements still in the system, they have to be drained out through the breath or the bowel or whatnot. So we see this hyperthyroid effect, but then it's blunted by the adrenals. And this is the way, to me, I'm gonna do another whiteboard here.
I started the biological dentistry work also, and they removed a failed root canal with big infection, and then they just did a 2 mercury removals.
Mm.
So let's just call this stress. And there's of course, there's physical, emotional, mental, and then I'm going to say psychic, kind of meaning soul. And so there's this, how do we handle it, right? How do we handle, I'm not even going to say energy / stress. How do we handle it? So what's the first thing that's affected if we're not handling stress well?
Cortisol.
Okay, that's fair. I'm gonna put a little box around it.
Our minerals, magnesium, the bees. get to
Right, I
sleep.
think that's a better place to start right there. So let's get an arrow here. We'll draw an arrow over. So that's our need for nutrients. Right. So that's your mineral, which is very broad, minerals and B vitamins. And then specifically, yeah, under the minerals department, it's magnesium, copper, a little bit of iron, oxygen. And then there's your other, we'll just put other elements. So we can have mineral depletion, and that could be part of the problem. And then, so let's say we don't get them. Let's do a little red arrow here. Don't.
What about the metabolism that, that probably affects the metabolism too, right? Because when we are in panic mode, we don't, then our energy goes away from metabolizing.
Seriously. Mhm.
So we end up with nutrient deficiencies, right?
Mhm.
So that's something we can definitely say. We have nutrient deficiencies. And then can that affect almost anything in the body?
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it could affect almost anything. So then the first system generally to be affected, this might seem a little off to you guys, but the first system to be affected in this case, in my opinion, wait, that's not the right one. Control Z. We need an arrow. There we go. In the 4 foundation system, the first one to be affected is the chooser.
Mhm.
So we get insulin. We get on an insulin, yeah, cortisol wagon.
The seesaw.
And then sodium gets depleted. Because the adrenals need sodium.
There was a time when some of my tests said my sodium was extremely low when I was at the clinic in Mountain View. It was very odd.
Isn't the sodium also needed for brain activity?
Yeah, it controls calcium on a lot of levels. There's so many things here. So we get the nutrients we need and we handle it well, then these steps are all bypassed. I'm not going to do the healthy chart. I'm just trying to lead you to why the answer is the way it was, because Isabel has a very valid question and I think it's worth exploring. So then the next thing that generally starts to get affected is, yes, the adrenals. They're next along the line. And how's that going to show up in terms of a test? What test is going to show us the adrenal fatigue primarily?
I forget
Quiz
what the
time.
names are. What's it called again?
What's the test that tells us adrenal fatigue? That's something I recommend with everybody pretty much.
It's like the T3, the T4, what do you call those things?
No, these aren't really labs. If you want to talk about labs, it's another class.
Oh, the test, the COCA pulse?
No. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up the little window here so I can see you guys. It is the blood pressure lying down standing up test.
Oh, duh.
If you're seeing an acupuncturist or taking your pulses regularly, then your pulse will become narrower and slower and deeper, and that's a loss of vitality, especially on the lower position, the lowest position down. That's the adrenals, the third position down towards the body. So pulse is another way you read it. A swollen tongue is another sign of low adrenals. Group 7F on the system survey is low adrenals. So your adrenal, then you can get adrenal hormone resistance first. And this is, I'm giving you guys the track of what I've seen over 13 years of tracking this. It's the only reason I'm going into it is from direct experience. Otherwise I wouldn't even be talking about it. So then the adrenals, then there's 2 things that can happen if the adrenals go down, and we'll go through both right now. One is the thyroid will be affected, or the brain. Actually, or the gonads. One of those 3 is going to be affected, depending on where you're weak.
Say again what the gonads are.
Ovary and testicle.
Oh, okay.
Let me save this. This is actually really trying to become a very good chart. Okay, let's draw one more box there, and that would be, yeah, that'd be in red. And then that's where you start to see, and then if that's not affected, then you have, there's one last step here. Let's put it in. And if that's not addressed, then you're going to end up with what they call HPA axis or hormone fatigue. And there's all kinds of ways that would manifest for a person. We won't go into that just yet. So when you see this confounding, like, where does that energy come from? It could be one of these other pathways has excessive energy and one of them is deficient. Kind of like that, all the heat is bottled up in the middle of the body in Anna's case, and there's nothing out in the periphery when we're in that sympathetic dominance and the microcirculation suffering. Let's see, get that up there. So then how this plays out is you'll see the ratio of lying down to standing up dropping more and more and more. Oh, it's falling 5, it's falling 10, it's falling 15, it's falling 20. And then that sort of takes down the thyroid. It's like a lead weight pulling the anchor deeper. And then the thyroid comes next, and then the brain generally. And then that's the toxic stress cycle right there. This is actually a perfect segue into toxic stress cycle. So there's 2 things I want to look at. Isabel, please remember, we want to look at the toxic stress cycle in terms of this. And we also want to look at, I was going to look at, so the test, the Ragland's test, and then your thyroid, your temperature test tells you thyroid function. And the lower pulse on the right arm is triple warmer or Sanjiao in Chinese acupuncture, and that's loosely thyroid metabolic function. They translate triple warmer as how energy is distributed in the 3 burning spaces, the upper, middle, and lower warmers of the body. So it's a very loose correlation to thyroid, which is the distribution of energy throughout the cells of the body. Sort of a loose. Oh, we'll look at Harrower's chart. So let's go there real quick.
Craig, what is when you say falling ratio, like what is the discrepancy between laying down and standing up? How much would that be?
Okay, let's go off screen share here for a second so I can, we don't
And
need
that's
this.
the one called Ragland's, right? That's the one, we call it Ragland's test.
Yeah, Ragland's test, that's available in the filing cabinet by topic. And it's, you want a 5-point rise in the systolic, diastolic, and pulse when you stand up. You just keep it simple, 5 to 10, 5 is ideal. So when it's falling, what I was taught, when it starts falling 20 or more, you start getting concerned. I'm not actually seeing physical manifestations of problems until it's falling 30 or more. Some people cruise along, dropping 10, 15, 20. It's been going on for years and they don't seem to be all that affected. Some people, it's falling 1 point and they can have obvious signs and symptoms. So that boils back to what we call constitution. Right? If they have a strong constitution, they're going to be able to cruise along on fumes for a long time.
And the temperature test you will still be referring to, right? We haven't discussed that test yet.
The temperature test is really, you know, the average human ideal temperature is 98.6. The trouble with that, though, is that we all run metabolically a little different. So it's a standardized test and you don't should somebody into pathology when it's below that. You just make a note and you consistently take it. And then like, hey, you've been running about 97.6 and suddenly it dropped to 96. Then you've got a relative range of dysfunction, right? Based on their law of averages, not the medical should. But I believe 98.6 is fair. It's a fair marker because I see people generally running between 98 and 98.6 that are healthy. And then I've seen some 97 and 98 who are also healthy, but they're just not getting that thyroid nutrition, which is obviously the iodine. So you want to, when it starts falling 30 or more, you should be very concerned about the person, because if they're still not showing symptoms, they could die with a heart attack in 5 seconds because it's happened. There's a medical doctor that when I was training 12 years ago, he said, I had a guy was falling 30 points his blood pressure. I sent him to the hospital immediately. And he had a heart attack in the hospital 30 minutes later. If he hadn't been in the hospital, he would have died. So that was a great illustrating story about, you know, when you don't have any adrenal backup for stress, then, and your minerals are depleted, you could die like that. And that's toxic stress cycle stuff right there.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
So the lady, I think her name Lynn, right? From last week's class, she also had a blood test mechanism in which she could, or she claimed to identify inflammation. Did I understand that right from last week's class? That she said there are certain markers in which she could see inflammation?
Liz with the Revisi.
Yes.
That's what
Uh-huh.
not Lynn, but Liz.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm just making sure he knows what you're referring to.
Still not drawn I'm not getting the memory on that.
In one of the slides that you showed last time, she was saying that there are certain,
Lynn August.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Liz. She's right. It's
Lynn
Liz.
August.
Yeah. So anyway, that's who it is. Exactly.
And so the slide said what?
that there are certain markers that that show high inflammation, but I don't remember what it was.
So to generalize, free fatty acids in the bloodstream are your marker of inflammation.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
And anti-fatty acids, which are cholesterol, are the sponge that soaks up the free fatty acids that are part of an inflammatory cascade. I haven't studied this enough to present it to you guys yet, but it will be coming up, certainly. Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to connect the dots.
Yeah, I'm going to help you guys. I just gotta, I gotta go up the ladder a little higher, and I got it all downloaded now. And I actually have a spreadsheet. I have a PowerPoint I'm working on right now as we speak, because I'm with you. I want to help you translate that.
So in terms for Anna, could she bring her inflammation down by eating less omega 6s and more omega 3s? If she were to eat more, like for example, less muscle meat and more organ meats, would that help in bringing the inflammation down?
Yes, I'm going to go back to her mineral analysis, and I believe that's correct. Yes, Isabel. And let's go look at, just to finish this part, to give you guys the brief overview. So you see how she's also running hyper on NAMG? See how big that one is?
Yeah. Wow. Yes, that's 3 times.
Very, very big. NAMG, see, excessive function. And then zinc to copper is a loose ratio to sex organs and cardiovascular imbalance. This is zinc to copper ratio. So you definitely want that one to be correct. And so what was that one at? Oh boy, a little high at 12. That's not horrible, actually.
And what was the NAMG again?
Adrenal. They're calling it adrenal. And then
Huh.
calcium to phosphorus, in Anna's case, is an okay marker. So you wanted about 2.5, and I think Anna's too high there also. Yeah, see, 5.3. So when you want to look at protein retention, you want to look at phosphorus, and see that's low. It's below the ideal. You want to see your phosphorus about 13 ideally. So that's one of the issues right there, is Anna's not building new tissue well, because the phosphorus isn't showing high enough. And then the sodium is your inflammatory marker. Sodium is a relatively inflammatory marker, and potassium is relatively anti-inflammatory. And that ratio, NAK, is 4.3, see? So the sodium is really what we want to see come down. 86.
So are there specific things to do to bring down the sodium?
Yeah, but that's not for our point today. Is it's a quick yes. And we'll go through that maybe next week. I wasn't not intending this to be on 10 minutes. So what we see here, we got the patterns in place with the minerals. We know that there's enough chi. You've got chi to generate energy. So you're not chi deficient, because you got a hyper response. Oh, but look at this. Aluminum is an cytotoxin. 1.23 is about the level I like to see in today's world. This level of nickel, I've never seen this high before. So what is why is the nickel so high? Anna, you'll get it right away. Once you get it, you'll get it forever. What is nickel used in refined food manufacturing? What is nickel used in refined food manufacturing? A catalyst for something. Hydrogenation, trans fats.
Wow.
Yeah, they use a nickel catalyst. And they heat the oil up to 400 to 500 degrees, and it makes it, the liquid oil turns solid.
Hmm.
Wow.
And you've got residues of trans fats coming out of your cells, Anna.
Hmm.
That's what that is. And that's the free fatty acid stuff. And your immune system is probably turned on. The killer T cells are probably not being controlled by the supervisor T cells. Why? Because you have a free fatty acid cascade. So, you know, we might get you one of those Ravicii products, the fatty acid, the anti-fatty acid, one of those.
Could it also be because she had some of the amalgams removed in her mouth and the for biodental? I would imagine nickel's in that too.
Yeah, this mercury is going to go up. I'm almost going to guarantee you this mercury over the next 3 to 6 months will go up.
Mhm.
I've never heard of nickel being in dental stuff, but maybe.
I don't know why. I know mercury, but that was my
Nickel
guess.
is the trans fats.
Only. Okay, then you're right.
Nickel's the trans fats. Nickel has nothing to do with the mercury.
Okay. Well, I know mercury, but I thought there were other metals, toxic metals besides mercury in the.
Now, how do you explain, correct, the 3 times higher sodium magnesium ratio? How do you explain that?
It's a cortisol stress response that she's running chronically.
Okay.
It's like, it's a mismanagement of the fire element, what it is at its root. Too much energy and then too deficient. There's not a smooth spreading of chi, and that goes back to liver once again. So harmonizing agents and control elements, you know, like seaweed is a, you know, I mean, I'd be doing seaweed up to yin yang if I was Anna,
Yeah.
like every meal. Organically bound minerals, 3 per meal, you know, 12, 15 organically bound minerals a day. Is a
I
great
also wanted to ask you, since you said the sodium is so high, would you be looking at her kidney?
No, this is not sodium in the blood. This is sodium in the hair, in the burnt hair.
Oh, I see.
So why is the body getting rid of sodium, right? That's the question. And the other one that's a concern is this manganese. These manganese levels are out of control. See, it goes to 0.2. And look where the scale ends at here.
Mhm.
So this goes way up to the top of the page, the manganese levels.
Wow.
And the sodium goes up to Anna Highsmith.
Oh, sorry.
So,
No, it is like,
so we know that manganese comes in well water generally, and it's in some things. So if you want to look at this, I would go to the hair mineral analysis. That's kind of good homework. Go to the hair mineral analysis folder.
My housemate told me at some point in time, Pleasanton uses well water, I think, part of the year.
High sodium or potassium, confirm water softener. There you go. High nickel, history of trans fatty acids. You've definitely had your share of refined foods.
Could you scroll back to that real quick? I just want to take a screenshot, please.
Right there.
Yeah, thank you. Got it.
And this is another ratio worksheet. This is the one I started working with. And then so low K, you don't have low K. You have a low ratio, increased thyroid effect at the cellular level and or toxicity.
Craig, could you
Yes.
stop for a second? So they have the explanation of NAMG and NAK.
Yep.
Reversed. So we said NAK is vitality adrenal, and they say NAMG is adrenal.
Well, it's both, see. On this particular interpretation, they have it under both, see.
I see. Okay.
Adrenals in both. I find the NAMG a weaker correlation to reality than NAK, to be blunt.
Mhm.
Just from 13 years of looking at these. So I like the NAK better for adrenal and vitality than NAMG. I look as a backup to confirm it. See, most important ratio right there. To correct this ratio requires dealing with the underlying emotions. So Anna's still in the good range, see, up until 5, according to these people. So we don't want to pathologize, but see, sodium is a rough indication of mineral corticoid effect, aldosterone, pro-inflammatory. So there's a pointer there with aldosterone, a kidney hormone. So there you go, Isabel. Kidney hormones involved. Very, very good. And then there's another one here. So she's called the fast oxidizers. So see, calcium and magnesium. No, we don't want to do zinc without copper. Romania and ashwagandha. These are great recommendations. If you do the zinc with the copper, this is excellent. And then we have let's see. Hidden copper, probably not. We did have a high, so sodium. To lower sodium, you give zinc and magnesium, it says right here. See? And the manganese raises sodium levels. So the manganese is what's raising your sodium levels, I believe. So to lower manganese, we need what? Zinc, chromium, and chisin is iron, copper, zinc also. So think zinc, copper, and chromium. So this is all available to you guys in the mineral analysis folder.
I think offals have a lot of zinc and copper, liver especially, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so next week we can go into this a little bit more, some of the remedies for this, but that's sort of the hair and mineral analysis in terms of the toxic stress cycle. I'm going to finish off with that really quick because we have that slide up. Anyway. Oh boy, that's too big. Hey, what's going on? There we go. Let me know if you see the toxic stress cycle in here. Okay, there we go. So in Anna's case, we could look at some photos too of the eyes and tongue, but that's kind of what we do with Health Alchemy anyways. You get the whole picture. Okay, here we go. So where do we think Anna's stuck? Well, we have this, see, there's the brain and the nerves and the digestive system. Get out of the way. Endocrine gland, see, there we go. So that's this whole endocrine thing. And see, it affects the digestive system. And then the liver over here is affecting the kidney and the bladder, and then the lungs, and oh shit, see? So where we seem to be stuck here is, you have muscle pain too, don't you, Anna? Anna, do you have muscle pain also?
I don't know, is she still there?
Yes, I have muscle joint pain every day.
So see, which one of these circles do you not have a symptom in is the question then, 1 through 11, is there any area that you're not hurting in? Can you breathe okay?
Oh yeah, I don't have problems breathing at all.
Yeah, so the lungs haven't been affected that much. So that's worth looking at there. So there seems to be a stuck here with this endocrine system, maybe not helping digestion along, and then the colon and the liver are affected, and this might be the main loop here.
Yeah, I don't feel digestion pain, but I don't feel like I'm regular enough, even though I'm taking the Multizyme and Zypan.
Not enough bowel movements.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then that's number one. More raw food and more organically bound minerals will soften up your bowels a little more too. And then I would take the GI Adsorb from Standard Process to start chelating out these poisons. GI Adsorb, very gentle zeolite product. You can take it right before you eat. Super simple. That's something to look at there. And then finally, what I wanted to end with on this last portion here is Harrower's chart. We've been through this a lot. And this is another reminder. of how the endocrine system works. Some of you guys have seen this before. So notice what's at the center is thyroid. You can see here everything is taken down, right? Oh shit, we have this liver issue, but the adrenals affect the liver, the parathyroid affects the liver, the thyroid affects the liver, the pancreas affects the liver, the duodenum affects the liver. Holy fuck.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you see, when you have a liver issue, it's affecting a lot of other things. And then see, the thyroid's connected to everything, basically. Now, Harrower did us such a favor by putting this together for us. It saves us a lot of time. Like, we got to make sure that the thyroid you might consider that mitochondria. You got to have your metabolism working well. So that's sort of the moral of the story here, is that Anna has had her challenges, and despite all those challenges, you know, Anna had said, you know, maybe there's a little, this is generally what happens with women that don't handle stress well into their 40s and 50s, is they do gain water weight up to 20 pounds. I see it all over the place. Men too. But men get the belly. They get the water in the belly, and that belly that sticks straight out. You're familiar with it, Monica. You know, that belly that sticks straight out. That's how the men gain weight, and the women get it in that middle section. Even one lady had back fat. She had this terrible back fat she couldn't get rid of. And so it's all compensation. And I believe, I'm going to go off the recording now because I'm going to say something off recording.